Mike was muted. I'm back. Last time we just started mining in order to gain just the resources for a beacon so that when we kill the wither, we can just slap the beacon on top of the stack and get a regen beacon going. We also talked about the Joker from Dark Knight Rises. Though I guess I never really finished talking about how Heath Ledger did a phenomenal job, but I mean, such a thing doesn't need to be stated. It was a great performance. Fun fact about Heath Ledger's Joker: he did his own makeup. Another fun fact about that: Michael Caine, there's the scene with the party. If you've watched The Dark Knight Rises, you know what I mean. Uh, Michael Caine hadn't seen Heath Ledger in makeup yet before that scene, so his reaction was genuine. The shock that he had to seeing the makeup. Or, well, it might have been still done up because it was an actor acting, but there was some shock to it from the sudden. Oh, right. Bad thing about this is you still need to have this open above it. We'll leave this, and we'll leave like that. There we go. But this time I'm going to just talk about other stuff off the dome piece as usual. First, how unapologetic Jeeps are. I went to Costco the other day, and when I returned to my car from the shopping excursion, there was a Jeep parked next to me, and it was like this dirty brown mud color, right? Like this, like a slight greenish hue to it. Like it looked like mud. And they had decals on the car that said Gator Queen. I'm in Massachusetts. There are no gators in Massachusetts. But here was the car, the Gator Queen, the Gator Queen car. Oh, that's a zombie spawner. Neat. I'm just gonna break this because I'm not near home. Nothing particularly valuable. I guess we'll take all of this stuff, put it in the white shulker box. Yeah, nothing else. I mean, I could take coal, I guess. And I'll start picking up coal as I see it. Though I don't think I've seen much. Or I've just tuned it out. Very possible. But I've never seen a Jeep that's like, oh, I'm driving a Jeep, but I want it to look like just a normal car. Like, they've got the funny looking headlights with the shapes like the stars and the X's rather than just having a normal headlight. There's also the fact that they just don't have doors. Not all of them don't have doors, but some of them just don't have doors. Which, I mean, it's just, for what reason? Like, that has to be at least mildly nerve-wracking, right? Like, I certainly wouldn't want to drive a car with no doors. I also hear a skeleton, but I don't know where it is. Oh well, I guess it's a problem for when it finds me. I just don't get it. Jeeps. specific. I mean, like, I guess it's not for me. So, how do I keep doing that? Let's put the coal in here. There's more coal in here that I just didn't end up getting because I ran out of inventory. Coal will, of course, be for smelting all of the rare metals I'm getting. Them making like things like iron and gold fortunable is very nice. Wasn't truly necessary, but it is very nice. What else? There's other things that I had thought about, but they have left my mind now. That's for Jeeps. Another car you rarely see is the Hummer. Also usually unapologetic. Though Hummers are probably the most wild vehicle conceptually. It boasts a terrible mileage per gallon. It's massive, which makes it terrible for parking, while still being worse than a pickup truck when it comes to hauling amount. So, I mean, I just don't know. But the Hummers are also extremely expensive. It's not like, oh yeah, but it's cheap, so it can... It's cheap, so you can just quickly get yourself a Hummer and drive it. No, those things are expensive. So you can't just get yourself a Hummer. That's not how it works. I'm not going to get that stuff off the ceiling. It's asking for trouble. Now to start getting other stuff from on the floor over here. Nice cave noise. I guess I'll just talk about my No, I can't really talk about the funny parts of my D&D because my players, there's a chance some of them watch, and I can't tell them the stuff I have planned, so I'm sorry, viewers. You'll just have to wait until after the fact. Let's dig into this big open section, see what the hell's going on. Oh my. This looks so foreign to me as a more old school player. I mean, it's just like... Oh, there's a band mine shaft up there. Honestly, like, this is actually a pretty beautiful biome. After I successfully beat all 4 bosses, which isn't guaranteed to be this time. We're doing quite well, but one massive slip-up, and I can still end up dying. I mean, I still have to deal with the Wither and the Warden, and the Warden I don't know much about. So, I'm by no means guaranteed victory. And the Wither I know about, which is why I know to be terrified of. Thankfully, I have the Rebirth idols, and I think those will probably be able to carry me through one of the 2 boss fights, and if I have enough after one, the other. But if I play too terribly, I'll just end up hemorrhaging through those, so... I do still have to be quite careful. I haven't won yet, which is why I'm still gathering resources. But after I do successfully do one of these, I'll probably run a modded Minecraft. I'll probably just throw some mods together and choose the ones I like. And I've always wanted to do like, oh yo, let me just collect a bunch of the mobs and do a zoo type style. You know, I'm sure I'm not the only one. but I've never done it because it's always like I do it and then what? For no purpose. But now there would be a purpose to entertain others, and that's a pretty good reason. I believe we're filling this one with all these resources. Here, I'm just going to throw this stuff in like this. No, I should just put the coal in here as well. It's a mined resource. Now this is a dangerous little crevice here. But I mean, we're not scared of a little crevice. Plus, I can survive death once. Actually, not at the moment. At the moment, if I die in a single hit, I just die because I don't even have the idol in my hotbar because that's smart. It's a good thing I realized that. That could have been very bad. But I'll probably do some Minecraft. I'm not sure if you've been watching at all, whoever's watching this. But I do have a flair for more magic-based mods. And I probably will throw together my own mod pack using popular mods. So it's not going to be anything too outlandish, or you'd probably be able to find a mod pack that provides you all those mods and then some. But I'm essentially just trying to reduce the strain of the and then some part. Eldritch Blast. I just missed. But I also wanted to just not kill the 4, but also just, while I've got a world doing this well, just... I disagree with that hit. But also just grab all the achievements, because... I mean, we'll already have done a lot of them by the time we defeat the 4 major bosses. I mean, that's gonna end up being like 4+ of the achievements. And currently the hardest achievement I think is actually going to be cover me in debris, because I'm not going to do bed mining. So finding enough ancient debris will actually be problematic. And the reason I'm not doing bed mining, for those of you who haven't heard me say it in the past, I have a no strip mining rule. And I would consider bed mining as strip mining. So that would violate one of the rules that I have established. And I won't do that. What other achievements are there that might be difficult? I don't know all the achievements. There's that one be afflicted with all the potion effects. I imagine there's a quick little guide to that one. Somebody's created a little guide for getting all the achievements, and that one will have some quick trick. There's also something to do with like creating a pot out of the pot fragments. I don't know what that even means. What other achievements are there? The one about anything that requires exploration of certain structures that I'm just not privy to will run me into some issues because I don't know them. But you know what I can talk about with my D&D? So I've been running Star Wars 5e, which is a thing that exists. You can just look up SW5e. It should show up first. And that is D&D Star Wars 5th edition. And I'm not playing it as a Star Wars fan. I'm playing it as I have a friend who's been running a sci-fi universe, and he's been using that as his system, so I'm DMing in it because I understand the pain of wanting to play in the system that you DM in, because you look at all these rules and you theory craft all these things just passively. And while it's true that Jesus Christ, he got shot off while dead. And while it's true that, oh, you can still make them all as NPCs, it's not the same. You don't get to do the Grand Epic. Anyways, he wants to play in the system, so I'm DMing in his universe, which is a sci-fi one, so I'm using the sci-fi rule set, which I think is a pretty basic explanation. Anyways, to make everything easier on myself, to lessen my load, I've been getting assistance from ChatGPT, who does not even know that this system exists. So I've been giving it the rules for the properties and stuff and having it design things, and then I redesign them. It's not amazing at this, but it does well enough. And sometimes it makes mistakes that it would have made regardless of the system, because it's essentially trying to make D&D creatures, but with guns as a priority. I've listed properties. Oh, a major problem that keeps happening is so a major problem that it keeps happening is I tell it to make a stat block for a weapon or for a gun and to use properties that I listed. And it will be like, okay. And then it'll make up a new property. So like I go, hey, make me a sniper rifle. Remember to utilize the properties as I listed. And then it gave me the precise property. You're like, wow, that seems like, yeah, sniper should be precise. And then I ask it, what is the precise property? And it goes, I apologize. There is no such property as you have listed to me. Please ignore it. But in general, the system tends to... The ChatGPT tends to get a lot of general things right. One thing it got wrong was I asked it to design a CR8 creature. And then I gave a small description of the creature because I wanted it to just generate some ideas. And then I can regenerate it a few times, and then I can copy and paste certain parts of it and craft a creature out of parts. And it created one of the things I said was that they are nearly unstoppable at times. So it created the property. It added the property to it, unstoppable. That's not the super rare one. That's just like a regular one, right? Because the super rare one's just like dark blue. Just in case. Because I think that's the cyan one, and it's the blue one is the ultra rare. But I love these little water pools, man. Generates so nicely. Oh my god. Welcome to October. Rattle 'em, boys. Oh my god, I popped up and then 5 skeletons in a circle around me just decided that today was my day to go. And they were all just firing away. Oh, it's just a little fish. I was so confused. It was like a baby axolotl, and I was like, I didn't realize they did that. It could actually be, technically. They might do that. I don't know the rules of the axolotls. They probably have breeding rules, just like every other, or not every other, but a lot of other creatures in Minecraft. Yeah, I just got so still life. Anyways, I've been using ChatGPT, and I wanted to create a creature that was unstoppable, right? And so it gives me the unstoppable trait. And just bear with me if you don't know rules of D&D, it'll become apparent why this was such a devilish design. He really got a shot off before he died. So, unstoppable. The creature can gain its con modifier times its level, temporary hit points as a bonus action. These temporary hit points last for 1 minute or until depleted. Now, the first problem I shall announce to you that I can do this every turn as my bonus action. While you can only have in D&D, you can only have temporary hit points from one source at a time. So if I generate these temporary hit points, then I won't be able to just keep stacking them infinitely. It instead will just give me whenever you generate hit points, it will give you the highest amount of temporary hit points from a source. So if you would get 20 from one source, or if you have 18 and you would get 20 from another source, you can take the 20 from that new source instead. That's the basics to temporary hit points. Not too complicated. Now, here's where it becomes a real gold mine. Well, what are those numbers? What is the con modifier of this unstoppable creature? Well, it happened to be +5. So I get 5 times their level. Now you might be thinking 5 times 8 because they're a CR8. But I need you to remember something that you might not have known when you made that comment to begin with. A CR8 creature, what CR8 means is challenge rating 8. A challenge rating 8 means, or the way challenge rating in D&D generally works as it's not exact, but it's sort of a baseline. That means 4 party members of the level equal to the challenge rating should be able to defeat that creature with average luck utilizing minimal resources. Now that might seem complicated, but I'll break it down to you. So a CR8 should be 4 level 8s, could take that one CR8 creature as long as their luck was within the bounds of normalcy, so they miss occasionally but not all the time, stuff like that. They roll average on their damage at that level, which isn't, it's, again, normal luck. And with minimal resources means potions, other consumables, class features. They shouldn't need to take a long rest immediately after. They should be able to contain some spells, some class features, the basics. They shouldn't all need to go all out. And what that ends up leading into is, well, okay, so how does that connect back into CR? Because, well, the reasoning is if a CR8 was level 8, then that would mean that 1 level 8 is equivalent to 4 level 8s. And that doesn't make much sense now, does it? Okay, so then one CR8 creature must be higher than level 8, but they can't just be 4 times higher than level 8. No, each level up is significantly more powerful than the last. A 5th level spell will do way more damage, or well, will be way more effective. Let's use the word effective here. Let's use the word effective. That feels like a good word. So that's just generally how that works. And a funny thing that happened once is one of my friends was DMing, and they had almost party wiped because they had put a CR4 creature up against their, or they put a CR3 creature up against their 4 level 1s. And the reason they did this was they misunderstood the CR rules, and they thought the CR was just about how many level 1s would it take to defeat this creature. To which I then laughed and said, that's absurd. How many level 1s would it take to defeat a red dragon? How many level 1s would it take? Just a regular red dragon, it would take like 14 by that rules. 1 fire breath and they're all gone. How many level 1s does it take to kill Tiamat, who's a CR or a Tarask, two of the highest CR creatures in D&D? Well, by this ruling, like 30 level 1s can take Tiamat, which, for those of you who don't know, the max party level is 20. Now, there are some alternative rules that can bump that up, but for base D&D, without any additional rules supplemented in there. Sorry, Axolotl in a bucket. We gotta go down. Okay, there we go. So, it's not how that works. Because as I just explained, 4 players equal to that level is the balance. Which means this is going to be very funny for those of you who are keeping track. That means that 4 level 1s is a CR1, not a CR4. So, anywho, in mine, I'm trying to create. So, what level is a CR8? Well, ChatGPT dictated 19, which means Unstoppable would allow me as a bonus action to gain 95 temporary hit points. And I could just, the only clause is that it's a bonus action. That's all it consumes. Which means every turn, if you wanted to deal damage to my health, you would either need some way of breaking through my temporary hit points, some way to bypass it, which I don't know of many or any. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any ways to just go through, to penetrate temporary hit points. I don't know if there's a spell that does it. I don't know. I can't think of any. So they would essentially need to just do 95 damage in a single, like, in order to start doing HP damage, they would need to target this creature and do 95 damage. A tall order. When some of them do, you know, like one of them on a crit did like 70 something during the session 0 combat. So, you know, much bigger number. Oops. I knew the spider would drop down on me, but I need to kill that creeper. Oh, man. So, anyways, that would be a problem. And that is just ignoring the fact that they had anything else. Now, the balance that ChatGPT did forget was that it said that it could make 3 attacks with its energy sword, right? And now here's the problem. ChatGPT forgot to give this creature an energy sword attack. So it could make 3 attacks with its energy sword if it had one. which I think is just positively hilarious. Just in concept of, oh yeah, it could do a lot of damage. You just gotta give it a moment to find its weapon. Now, obviously, I could have just fixed that. Instead, I ended up switching to the alternative. That went right through the shield. Anyways, I went with just regenerating, and then it gave me a different form of unstoppable. A different form of unstoppable that was that terrain does difficult terrain doesn't cost extra movement to go through, and that when it attacks, it can do an extra little attack. Man, I find it really funny that I'm deep underground, but I can still just hear the strikes of lightning, but I can't hear the rain. Generally, I try to avoid these tunnels, but this looks like it opens up. I'm going to go search the other area that looked like it closes. Grab like this gold here. Yeah, but I just thought it was hilarious, essentially, that it created this monster. I messaged it to my friend, and when I said CR8, he was like, yeah, CR80. No, it's not truly that absurd. I mean, if they could attack all those times and generate all those hit points, yeah, they would be quite threatening. And if they were the only creature on the battlefield, then it makes sense. Now, here's the thing. They are the strongest creature on the battlefield, but they are not the only creature on the battlefield. And something to remember when balancing a campaign like this is while the players can try to determine who the biggest threat is, they would always be guessing. An educated guess, maybe, unless they know something. Like, if the party knows in advance, like, oh, watch out for John Jacobson, the very powerful Archmage of Death. It's like, oh, yeah, I mean, what does he look like? Oh, he wears a very large blue wizard hat, but he combined it with a red top hat. And you see that guy, you're like, all right, well, he's obviously going to be one of the most dangerous threats on the battlefield. I got to watch out for him. But what happens if you're not approaching that? What if you don't know anybody? Well, then anybody could be. There's still a distinction between general issue, basic goon versus, oh, but now there's three guys. There's this weird pirate. There's this unstoppable killer. And then there's a sniper on the hill. Now, if you don't take out the sniper, they're going to be problematic as the fight goes on. But if you try to go for the sniper first, I mean, then you might just get jumped by the melee people. It could be dangerous, and you don't know what tricks these people have up their sleeves. And so, you know, when you're balancing your combat, you can't balance around, okay, what happens if they take out the main DPS first? Because they might identify the main DPS very quickly and deal with them. Could very well happen. Some people will metagame a little bit and they'll go, okay, well, I see a person wielding, or not even metagame, but see, metagaming has a bad connotation. Let's say just you're playing a fighter who just knows weapons really well. Well, when you see a man with a greatsword, you know, it's not even metagaming to know, all right, that guy's probably a very good fighter of some kind. Or he's even perhaps, he's extremely strong. Anyways, because that's a weapon for someone with a high level of strength. And then you'll have something like, I don't know, you're an intelligent wizard yourself, so you identify, or just your experience on the battlefield, you can identify that person wearing robes, probably a magic user. Oh, I can't actually pick all that up. I wish that sound meant that that was just like the Warden biome. Honestly, if I found the Warden biome just passively, I would absolutely just immediately do the Warden fight. So that's just something to keep in mind while balancing. How are my stacks of... I mean, I have a lot of iron, but it's still not enough iron for a full beacon. Which will be mostly built out of iron. Now, what other sort of mild tips can I give? I mean, give players cover, create areas with... Don't play too much with elevation because it's a difficult game to be played, but make your battlefields intuitive. And by that I mean, if your combat's happening in the woods, there should be trees that people could use for cover if they want to be able to take cover. Should be bushes and foliage, and so even if you didn't put it on the map, just it would make sense if somebody goes, oh, well, are there any bushes around? And you're like, well, we're in the jungle, so I bet there should be. And then you can just go, yeah, we'll say right here there's some sizable foliage. Or if you're specifically fighting in a clearing, you can go, actually, no. So this fight's specifically happening in a clearing. But a clearing is only some of the woods. A clearing implies that there's an unclear area. That's what differentiates this as a clearing, is the unclear area. So it's like, so back here, I wanted to jump up there before the zombie got to me. It was reckless and foolish. Oh, diamonds hiding behind my gold. How many diamonds do I have? 29? Pretty decent haul so far. Not done yet, of course. Also, I like to create fodder enemies on the battlefield. Not just to sort of like, because I know a lot, sometimes I don't like to do it because it just feels like I'm padding out how long combat will be. 4 skeletons just spawned all together. How nice of them. A little squadron of shooters. Happy October, everybody. There it is. But as I was stating, combat should feel intuitive, so a bunch of weaker people rallying with stronger people makes sense a lot of the time. Not all the time. Does this strong person have followers? If they do, are they the types of followers who fight by their side, or the types of followers who do their, you know, like... Because you have different types. So you can have, like, a general, right? And a general, he's going to be strong on his own, but he's going to command soldiers. That's what a general is, a commander. So if the general doesn't have any troops with him, then there should be a reason why not. Did you jump him in his quarters? Or is it just like he thinks so little of you that he tells his troops to back off? you know, like there should be a reason why a general doesn't have his soldiers. But if you have like, you know, a gladiator may have like fans with him, or maybe even another gladiator, or maybe some, you know, like basic protection because gladiator could be somewhat, you know, popular. Oops, man, that was the wrong one. But the gladiator is more likely to fight on his own than a general. If you're trying to kill a politician, it doesn't mean the politician doesn't know some magic or something, but he's more likely to support uh, his security than he is to just fight you himself. Now, a lot of the times in fantasy settings, nobles tend to also be trained with like a sword or something. But their swordsmanship should be less than their security. Unless they are specifically like, that is the noble who developed the Tetranese sword style. Which then it's like, all right, that's Tetra of the Tetranese sword style. They're a fucking god with a weapon. Or, oh yes, they are just a priest. Versus, oh, that's the priest of war. He is well known for fighting capabilities. But even then, I once played a twist on that, where it's like, oh yeah, the priest of war, he should be a mighty warrior. But the priest of war in my setting was just like a really socially awkward dude who just sort of, you know, followed the god of war and glory. And he was good at following the god of glory, but he wasn't some glorious individual himself. He had an eye for other glorious people. He invited the main party to the event because they had shown great prowess during times of war and for bloodshed. The party wasn't, you know, particularly too enthused by being viewed as, you know, great agents of battle and combat, but there's some glory to that. And so, you know, he is not in himself glorious, but a priest of war could absolutely be a warrior themselves who, you know, may it be retired, may it be still actively a warrior, but they just don't have a cause to serve at the moment, so they spread the teachings of good war. Or they serve as a politician, and you're like, well, why would they serve as a politician? Ever heard of an advisor? A war counselor is very important because most kings are not going to know war at all. Or, well, some of them might. Some of them are warrior kings, but in general, they're not going to be, you know, the best warriors. Man, this is not enough, but I don't feel like mining anymore. So I'll let myself come back to mining some other day, lost in the caves, which feels like a great idea. But I'm just going to end this here. And hopefully, whenever I choose to come back to this, I will remember where I've been and it won't be that painful an experience. But until then.